Yo, what's good? It's your boy Cristo. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. And I'm back with another video. Hey, y'all film today.
After 2020, we start looking at Atlantic get rid of everybody. Everybody's going. They're allowing people to take their artists. Now, Atlantic was turning a profit for investors. They promised the executives, I heard, up to like damn near $100 million in bonuses.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, we got hip hop madness. Atlanta Records. You feel me? Them rap careers are dying. And thumbs up button, hit the likes button. Right into this video.
The record label with these A-list musicians go from dominating the charts and shaping the sound of a generation to losing nearly all of its top talent in a single year. From regularly topping the charts thanks to their dominance in both streaming and album sales, to hemorrhaging talent, dropping nearly all of their roster and falling out of the conversation entirely. This is one of the biggest fall-offs in music history that nobody seems to be talking about. Let's start with Cardi B. The one-hit wonder curse is probably the most interesting and most tragic character in music. For a brief moment in hip-hop, she shocks the world, becomes the #1 female-selling artist in the world while simultaneously winning every notable award, and fundamentally changes how we think of artists. Extreme money and fame enter the picture, and we see our newly crowned queen fly a little too close to the sun, only to collapse spectacularly and fade into obscurity. That's the life of a one-hit wonder. None of this applies to Cardi B. Boasting 13 platinum songs on her very first album, Invasion of Privacy, Cardi B stands out because in just a few years, she went from being a love and hip-hop contestant to one of the most successful female rappers in the history of music ever. At her very first Grammy Awards, she won Best Rap Album for Invasion of Privacy, beating Travis Scott's Astroworld, Mac Miller's Swimming, and Nipsey Hussle's Victory Lap. Notably something that Nicki Minaj has never won, fueling industry debates about Cardi's rapid industry push. Yet since 2018, Cardi hasn't released a sophomore album, and while she's dropped a handful of #1 hit singles since, none of them have built sustainable hype for an album rollout. In 2020, it was rumored that she was renegotiating her label deal with Atlantic, with Hits Daily Double stating, Cardi dropped a number of tracks and features in the last year or so, but it's been a long while since her 2018 debut album. Still, she's a monster brand. Insiders say a renegotiation of her record deal has held up the release of her next full-length album. What's taking so long to get that deal done? Is something more than money involved?
Shut the fuck up!
Well, it's been 7 years since Cardi's last album, and she's announced her album.
Yeah! I know y'all ready. I know y'all females ready for an album, is y'all? 7 years is outrageous, man. 7 years ago, how old was I? I don't know.
Numerous times, yet it keeps getting delayed. Fans often blame Cardi herself, claiming she's lazy or too comfortable. However, Atlantic also bears responsibility. It's their job to ensure she fulfills her contractual obligations and releases music. Instead, they basically let Cardi do what she wants. It seems that Cardi B was Atlantic's golden ticket, an artist who successfully challenged Nicki Minaj's reign while ushering in an entirely new wave of female rap. But after securing their big win, it seems Atlantic failed to figure out how to capitalize on her long term. Now, the label is practically begging her to release new music. Here we see clearly that under Atlantic's mismanagement, or lack of direction, they may have played a major role in her prolonged absence from rap. Jack Harlow is another cautionary tale of Atlantic's artist pipeline. Despite making music for years, he blew up in 2019 with his viral hit, What's Poppin'. With his charismatic personality, super clean image, and a pop-friendly rap style, many saw him as a potential contender for Drake's spot.
Stop it.
His 2022 album, Come Home, The Kids Miss You, was
sorry, y'all. Gotta interrupt. So, y'all think Jack Harlow gonna take Drake position?
Nope.
Y'all believe that? Y'all drop down low in the comments. I don't believe he is, you feel me? But if there's some diehard Jack Harlow fans out there, just let me know down in the description, man. I said description, the comment section.
Really hyped, fueled by his feature on Lil Nas X's Industry Baby and his hit single First Class. However, when the album dropped, it failed to meet expectations. Despite its big marketing push, the album debuted at #3, trailing behind Bad Bunny's massive first-week sales and Future's second-week numbers, despite having features from Justin Timberlake, Drake, Pharrell, and Lil Wayne. The album also received negative reviews, with Pitchfork stating the following. When reviews are calling the music bland, it's because the artist themselves hasn't been developed enough to find their authentic voice. Once again, Atlantic had taken an artist that was good at putting out hit singles, but wasn't quite ready to put out a full-length studio project. Since then, Harlow has maintained some relevance through some viral singles, a New Balance brand deal, and even a major acting role. However, his music career has lost the momentum it once had and remains in limbo. Whether he will reignite his hype or fade into the background remains to be seen. But that pales in comparison to one of Atlantic's biggest fumbles, and quickly became one of the most prolific rappers in the industry. Dropping an average of 3 to 4 projects per year, he built a massive cult fan base that consumed everything he released, making him one of the most streamed artists globally, beating out pop stars.
For real. Now, I know that young boy free and all that, but y'all can't count. Bro, 9th grade, 10th grade. For me, that one young boy, it was always the young boy versus little baby competition. Hey, I give it to young boy, man. That man turned it up. Lit. I don't know how he do it, but they're lit. Like, bro got the influence. And y'all can't deny
Ariana Grande, Justin Bieber, and virtually every mainstream rapper. In just a few years, Youngboy was consistently racking up billions of streams and pulling in record-breaking numbers without the need for Atlantic to heavily promote his projects. However, despite his success, he still found himself at odds with his label, a familiar story for artists under Atlantic's umbrella. In 2022, Youngboy accused Atlantic of blackballing him, claiming they removed his mixtape Colors from the Billboard 200 charts to suppress his success. Following this fallout, Youngboy's relationship with Atlantic completely soured. He wrapped up his contract obligations in 2022, and instead of Atlantic doing everything to keep their top, low-maintenance artist on their roster, Atlantic begrudgingly offered him a $25 million deal to renew his contract. However, he turned it down, making it clear that he no longer wanted to be associated with the label, while allegedly going on to pick up a bigger bag from Motown Records. Since parting ways with Atlantic, Youngboy's career has taken a noticeable hit. His final release under the label, Lost Files, failed to even crack the top 30 on the Billboard 200, selling just 18,000 units in its first week. Meanwhile, Atlantic still owns the rights to all of Youngboy's biggest hits, including his collaborations with Juice WRLD, meaning that even though he walked away, they still profit off his past success. As part of his exit negotiations, Youngboy even tried to buy back the rights to his masters, offering 4 free albums in exchange. However, Atlantic refused the deal and opted to hold on to the ownership of his catalog, meaning all they have to do is sit back and collect checks while Youngboy struggles to regain momentum under a new deal. NBA Youngboy was one of Atlantic's most successful artists, yet even he couldn't escape the label's profit-driven tactics. They squeezed every bit of value out of his work, refused to give any real ownership over his catalog even after he recouped, and once he was done fulfilling his contract, they let him walk, while still making money off of him indefinitely. Now, we could probably go on for days reeling off examples of why Atlantic is always at the center of this discussion whenever a rapper on its roster faces issues with creative output, project delays, or underwhelming releases. But it actually goes much deeper than this. In 2020, streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music were experiencing a boom, and the pandemic had reignited global interest in music consumption like never before. Sensing an opportunity, Warner Music Group, Atlantic's parent company, decided to go public to capitalize on the music industry's newfound profitability through streaming. And as DJ Academics explains,
anything after 2020, we start looking at Atlantic get rid of everybody. Everybody's going. They're allowing people to take their artists. Now, from what I heard, is that needed to happen for about 3 quarters. They said if Atlantic was turning a profit for investors, they promised the executives, I heard, up to like damn near $100 million in bonuses.
Yeah, boy.
Why? The executives were going to get their pockets lined by the company, the overall company going public, by them keep bringing a profit in.
Okay.
When WMG's IPO launched at $25 per share with 77 million shares available, the company was suddenly valued at nearly $12.75 billion. Major financial institutions like Morgan Stanley and Goldman Sachs underwrote the deal, signaling a major shift. WMG was no longer a private company, but a publicly traded company, and was accountable to investors rather than just artists. This fundamentally reshaped the label's operations. With shareholders demanding consistent profits, Atlantic's strategy shifted from fostering artistic growth to financial optimization. As a result, Warner went on an aggressive acquisition spree. Just months after going public, WMG acquired IMGN Media, a company that basically owns sections of the internet meme culture through notable Instagram pages, for a staggering $85 million. And what was one of its most notable assets? The meme page Daquan, which boasts over 16 million followers. The acquisition was yet another attempt to convince investors of WMG's ability to get a quote-unquote better understanding of the habits and predilections of teenage audiences. others. Another major acquisition was 300 Entertainment, which WMG purchased for $400 million in 2021. Founded by the now YouTube head of music Leor Cohen and Kevin Liles, the label housed the likes of Megan Thee Stallion, Young Thug, and Gunna, amongst many others. The label was combined with Elektra Music Group, which housed alternative artists like Fall Out Boy and 21 Pilots, forming 300 Elektra Entertainment. This acquisition marked a shift in WMG's strategy. Instead of spending money on distribution, the company aimed to own artists' catalog, which basically ensured direct profit from their catalog. Another tactic Atlantic used was shamelessly botting streams, allegedly. By November 2022, the label's attempts to impress investors had become even more blatant. As we all know by now, botting is a common practice in the music industry. But in case you don't, the purpose of botting is to create social proof. The idea that if enough people engage with something, others will follow. This is why Spotify streaming numbers and YouTube views are so prominently displayed next to songs and videos. The larger the number, the more likely people are to click because they assume the content is popular. However, botting requires balance, because if streaming numbers are inflated too aggressively, it starts to look suspicious. And this was precisely the case in November 2022, when Atlantic signees Lil Uzi Vert, Roddy Ricch, and Don Toliver were all clearly caught using bots to boost their YouTube views. Don Toliver's song Do It Right was the most obvious example. As of 2025, the song sits at 11 million views, but shockingly, it has over 23,363 comments. For comparison, Don Toliver's hit song Cardigan, which has tripled the number of views, has just over 6,500 comments, despite being released for a longer period of time. A quick scroll through the comments revealed hundreds of bot-generated responses consisting of singular characters, further fueling suspicions, and the proportions were completely off, leading many to believe that bots were at play. In 2024, the music industry began to slump. Spotify's growth had flatlined, with few
Why? Y'all keep y'all views how they supposed to be. Y'all just grow, be consistent, grow. Be yourself on the camera, you feel me? And you feel me? Let it grow that way. But you over there buying bots. That's lame. Come on, man. You gotta be authentic to yourself. You don't got that many views. Stupid ass.
remaining markets left to dominate. This stagnation had ripple effects across the entire industry, leading to a mass of layoffs, particularly at WMG. In early 2024, Warner Music Group announced plans to lay off 10% of its workforce, a move that included major executives disguised as quote-unquote dynamic restructuring. The company simply did not have the financial resources to continue paying high salaries. Among those affected was Julie Greenwald, who had served as CEO of Atlantic for over 15 years, and Kevin Liles, who stepped down from his position at 300. With investors pulling out of major labels and a power shift occurring across the industry, many legendary music executives left their roles, signaling a major transition in leadership. In addition, instead of shelving artists, Atlantic dropped dozens of artists in one day, with Gucci Mane's 1017 label taking the biggest hit. He had to drop all but 2 of his artists, Fujiano and Pooh Shiesty. The WMG stock has reflected this struggle, as the company faces harsh financial consequences from its decisions in 2025. Recent moves by WMG and Atlantic Records suggest that the music industry is consolidating at an unprecedented rate, and Atlantic is only getting bigger. Along with WMG merging 300 Entertainment and Elektra under a single umbrella to form Atlantic Music Group, the biggest shift came in 2023, when WMG acquired 10K Projects. Now, 10K Projects has its own unique backstory. Founded in 2016 at the peak of the SoundCloud era, a young Elliot Grange, the son of Universal Music Group CEO Lucian Grange, launched the label in partnership with UMG. Instead of relying on traditional A&R scouting, 10K Projects used SoundCloud as a cheat sheet, tracking data trends to discover talent before traditional labels and A&Rs. The strategy paid off fast, with one of Elliot's first career-defining moments being securing XXXTentacion in a major label deal. Grange then signed Trippie Redd, 6ix9ine, and Internet Money, and more recently, Ice Spice. So in September 2023, Grange announced a joint venture with Warner Music Group. As part of the deal, WMG acquired 10K Projects and paid him a staggering $102 million. Now, in September 2024, around the same time several major executives left, WMG appointed Elliot Grange as the new CEO of the newly consolidated Atlantic Music Group. Now, Elliot Grange oversees the 4th largest label in the music industry, while his father, Lucian Grange, continues to run the world's largest music conglomerate, Universal Music Group. Together, they control nearly 40% of the industry, holding a stake in some of the biggest artists, including Taylor Swift, Drake, Cardi B, and Kendrick Lamar. After sweeping layoffs and a ruthless roster purge, Atlantic has cleared the board, setting the stage to either rebuild or self-destruct. Now, all eyes are on Elliot. Will he champion artists?
Hey man, Atlantic going stupid, bro. I can't even count. like, you feel me? WV Hip Hop Madness, you feel me? And they tried to ruin, you know, them rappers' careers, but they ultimately trying to get bigger than big. They wasn't trying to make no one get bigger than their program, but they trying to get bigger than big. Y'all feel me? And let me know your favorite industry part that y'all didn't know about the video, because I did learn a little lot from that, because I didn't really know, you feel me, a little too much, but you feel me, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. It's your boy CristoReacts out. Yeah!
And I need me to do. If I ain't get paid, I ain't doing the show. Shit, I'm finna